some of them shits is even taboo. So not only do we not realize it and like give it some, service, we might be like ashamed of it culturally, personally, emotionally, professionally. Peace and hugs. I am testing out various ways of doing these Savor Journal entries, and this one is like, I feel uncomfortable in some ways because I'm not sure who all over there on these Make It Happen streets. Patreon can be funky in terms of love it, need it, stay for the reciprocity of dollars for the work that I do in the world, right? Especially from folks who might not be able to engage all the time in grounds, my newsletter, or do any of those other things, but your money each month or once a year is coming to support my work in the world. Love and appreciate that. And sometimes I feel like the reciprocity is inherent in terms of what I offer you because you're here because you got something from something I did. And I love that for us. And I also want sometimes to do something else specifically for people who are here. And let me know what you think that's about. Like, as somebody who's here, whether you're new here, welcome, or you've been here, welcome. I would like to know, like, if there are things you want from this space or expected from this space. I'm not saying I'm going to meet those expectations. I'm just saying, moano, right? That's one thing that I didn't want to figure out how to write out. I just wanted to blah it out. And then the second piece is a bit of an update. I used to do these State of Raising Free People Network videos here on Patreon, and I haven't maybe in a couple of years, I think, maybe. I didn't check. But right now feels like one of those times, like when Fear of the Free Child came through, I knew something was happening. When the eyelid course, I Let It Die, the grief course came through, in its iterations over time, knew something was happening. When What I Let Die podcast came through, knew something was happening. When Bringing Flowers with me and Thea Monier came through and we were like, we doing this, knew something was happening and is happening. Oh my God. And now it's happening again, which is why I wanted to share it here first. I'm not doing a second season of What I Let Die grief podcast because where this grief literacy education, where these grief-tending, skill-building energies and charges working through me, where they're taking me is not a second season of the podcast, but a third body of work that is specifically for supporting folks in becoming more aware of how grief influences their choices, their lives, their relationships, all of that. Because I'm sitting in these grief circles monthly, and then I'm doing grief work in between then with individuals. And then I'm doing so much learning and tending with the Regional Commission, which is part of this Atlanta area agency on aging, working with the realities of life after, say, 65 or hospice volunteering. I've just been in a lot of spaces where grief is central, and education around it. The culture of grief isn't viewed in the same way. We're walking into it. We're like, we want to know, we want to feel that, we want to understand. Oh shit, oh my God. I was talking with my brother, shout out to Cosmo, yesterday, and he was saying in his world, doing a lot of mental health work with Black men in particular, grief is so dominant and present right now. So many people I can say have said that to me recently, just this year, this calendar year alone. And so I initially had the eyelid course, right? And then What I Let Die, that podcast. And I thought I was going to continue with What I Let Die. And then as it turns out, this next iteration of that invitation and work around Grieftending is showing up different. It's a freaking talk show. It's more visual than auditory, right? Podcasts are mostly sound with a video element if you want to, but something that's meant to be watched is different. And the thing that makes me really excited about this is that it means that I won't have to rely as much on words. I'm a writer first, I would say. As complex as writing can be for me, I'm a writer, and I have always been, even as a child. And I'm a talker. I like to speak. I like to bring voice to what I'm interested in or witnessing or upset about. And there's a version of me as I started to slow down towards the end of Fear of the Free Child podcast, and ever since then, that is less excited about using freaking words all the time, especially as I'm learning so much more about the diversity of grief cultures in different times in our lives, in different places, in different parts of the world. That's so much of what this Bringing Flowers project with Thea Monnier is supporting me in becoming more educated in, right? What grief culture looks like in these different ways, including within ourselves. So the more I'm in that, in the diversity of that, the more I'm realizing how much grief and grief support relies on fucking talking, eloquence, being able to articulate something when it's like grief is so much more than I feel sad because my person died or left in some other way, or this thing that it's so much more than that. It's oftentimes, for so many of us, grief is in the body before it even comes out the mouth. So I really need to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Shout out to unschooling. Oh my God. Comfortable in the uncomfortable, and be like, okay, you're a writer, you're a talker, but you're also noticing that so much of grief is like ridiculously reliant on that. So what can you contribute that supports grief tending, that's not so much and is more embodied, more in the body? So that's what I'm doing with the rest of this year and into next year. This talk show, I won't say the name yet, but I will say that it is specifically for inquiry, excavation, exploration, dancing with, feeling into, playing with, peering at, walking towards, surprising and often even taboo aspects of grief culture. In the eyelid course and in What I Let Die, we talk about kananapo, a word that I know from Jamaican patois, specifically from my grandmother, Etel. She and her sisters used to use it, and I use it for non-body deaths, for death that isn't about, or maybe isn't just about, or maybe has nothing to do with the death of a person. There are all these other types of loss and deaths that we experience throughout life. And so the word that we used for that in Eyelid and Wow is kananapo. And so this will talk about kananapo, that type of grief, but also the one that we are more familiar with, where it's like someone died or is dying, and so I'm grieving. But where else it goes, the central aspect of it is that all these different types of grief, one, we don't name them all. Two, some of them are pretty surprising to us. And three, some of them shits is even taboo. So not only do we not realize it and like give it some, service, we might be like ashamed of it culturally, personally, emotionally, professionally. So that's what I'm about to do in a YouTube talk show format. And I wanted you to know that. Thanks for being here for this current Savor Journal entry.